Hello, and welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for following me as I explore the wide world of pens. And yes, this package might look familiar. It's the standard eBay shipping. It arrived in 16 days, which is good. It's now the middle of December of 2020 in United States, and a lot of packages that I've waiting to receive and packages that I sent through the U.S. postal system are showing exceedingly long delays and confusion, more than usual. And one of our friends, as a retired postal worker, has been called back. There apparently is a number of people missing due to the COVID virus, and also there's the impact of all the changes that were made to the postal system for questionable reasons. But that's not the purpose of our video today. The purpose of our video today is to look at the pen that I received in this package. It's always amazing when you get a package like this. There's some bubble wrap inside here, but the pen is just in a little plastic sleeve. And I have to admit that sometimes you get a pen and you go, wow. There's a nice barcode on it with some Chinese characters. We'll give you the translation of those characters for those that are interested. But what's really of interest is the pen. Very well made, feels substantial in the hand, kind of reminiscent of another pen maker, but then a lot of pens are reminiscent of other pens. A nice logo in that metal finial at the top of the cap. Very stiff clip. I'd say almost stiff to be not usable. Nice cap band there, and it's at the bottom of the cap, which is what I like because it really protects any potential cracking that might be there. Reinforces the acrylic, which feels very substantial. And I love the color. Very happy with it. Might be reminiscent of a German pen of also kind of an orange acrylic, but yeah, never felt motivated to spend the bucks. It unscrews in in about a little bit over 1.5 turns, and we reveal a nice section, same material as the cap and body, which I always like. The black finial at the bottom is an interesting design feature. I think it would have been nicer just to have the end of the barrel be like the end of the cap, but that's not what they chose to do. And we'll also see a nice nib, very nicely engraved. That 1997 may have some significance. I have to look it up. I got a fine nib, but it's impressive. The standard injection molded plastic feed. Looks like some decent tipping on that fine nib. As we unscrew the barrel, we'll see some more quality work. That metal insert, which to me gives stability to everything, and also that converter sits very deeply in there. You got that plastic ball, which I think is useless, but a lot of people put it in. And the converter is also branded, which is very nice. So we're going to clean it up, compare it to some other pens, and see how that fine Hongdian number 6 nib writes. Stay tuned. These are the many pieces that make up this excellent pen. Acrylic is fairly thick. We'll use the LED to explore a little bit further. And I just think we need to look a little bit at this very incredible emblem, if you want to call it, with that dove and Hongdian world peace. The converter easily comes apart, just unscrews, and you can take the whole thing apart. I like the fact that this is all frosted, so it doesn't reflect much, because the barrel is a little bit transparent. But I wished the turning knob here would have been clear, like Kaigelu did on their pen, so you didn't see the black through the acrylic. But it's nice also they got that insert inside that metal collar that's a little bit softer, that attaches very nicely to this nib assembly, which unscrewed easily. I was not able to pull out the nib and feed, but then I'm just going to flush this and clean it. No need to pull it out. And there's some interesting writing down there at the bottom of the nib. I think those 3 lines are geographical references. At least that's the best of my knowledge. Not a lot of information, but I think it's a very nicely done nib with the engraving. I think it's time to go dark and bring in the LED. I always like how the color changes with different lighting. Now we just have diffused sunlight. It's very cloudy. We're supposed to get a foot or two of snow starting a little bit later today. I enjoy looking at how pens were made and put together, and I find this acrylic to be as good as any of these acrylics in this family. If we look inside the barrel, we'll see that thickness of the acrylic, which is very nicely done. And so you look inside the barrel, which is kind of hard to position over the camera. We'll see that it's all glued together down there, at least as far as I can tell. We'll look at the cap. Again, that same material, very consistent. All these parts are extremely well plated. They all fit together very, very well. It's just an excellent pen. And if you look inside the cap, we'll see a screw holding everything together, which is typical of this design. But they put in a nice little plastic insert there to protect the screw from any type of corrosion from ink, and also hopefully to seal it up so the nib stays wet and you can uncap it and write after it's been sitting for a while. I'm just impressed. This is done as well as any pen, no matter what the price, in my opinion. In looking at the way the pen is constructed, these 2 metal pieces are inserted into this acrylic, machined acrylic section, and I'm assuming glued in place, but it's still a very functional design, and I haven't had any issues with any pens that were similarly made. It's a nice look, and it's sturdy. That metal protects the ends of the section. These are the pens that I'm going to compare the Hongdian to, and I picked these for a number of reasons. Primarily, they all have flat tops and bottoms, so that puts them in that flat top and bottom category. Secondly, there are some versions of similar acrylics, and here's that Pen BBS 352, and I have that here to show how a finial at the end of the barrel can be the same color as the rest of the pen, unlike the black one that Hongdian used. Here's that Jinhao Centennial 100, which I think has a very nice cracked ice orange acrylic pattern. This one isn't quite as dramatic in the cracked ice, but it has its own appeal. And this orange swirly resin in the 352 is very nice, very unique. I did have 2, and one went on to Penboy Roy. And here we have a M600S from Moonman, which has that beautiful amber resin. Then up here is one of my current favorite pens, the Kaigelu 316 in this beautiful lemon yellow resin, which really has a nice amount of chatoyancy to it, and I just like the color, and the nib writes very well. So with all of these pens, except the 352, all of them post very long. The caps are heavy. None of these 4 pens would I really write with posted unless it was just a short session and I had to post it, and the Kaigelu really doesn't stay posted. None of these are good posters except, again, the 352. We'll see here different ways of treating the section. I always enjoyed Pen BBS that for almost every pen, I think, uses the same material in the section as they do in the cap and barrel. These three have that black section, which is more typical and common of the dual fold design, along with the black finial and the black blind cap. And Hongdian, again, made a little bit of a variation to the classic design by this section being the same material. The other thing a lot of these share in common is a metal band at the bottom of the section near the nib and a metal band between the section and the barrel. Again, a common design trait of a dual fold pen. Let's close in a little bit on these wonderful nibs and their associated sections. So all of these pens have very nice number 6 nibs. You know, various designs. This one is plain, just all silver plated, rhodium plated. The Moon Man is all gold tone. I wished it was two-tone. And the Kaiglu is two-tone. So they're all nice. The sections are all decent. They work well in my hand. They're all a little bit beefy. Again, the 352 is the thinnest of the sections, and the Hongdian is next to that, but they're still above the small sections that I don't like in other pens. They all get a little flare out at the end, which is, again, a design trait that I like. So I think we now need to ink up the Hongdian and see how that fine nib writes. Is it fine? So what ink to put in the pen? I'm not a fan of yellow inks. I do like orange inks, but none of the orange inks I have are ones that I wanted to use, and I've been trying to use some of the inks that I've had for a number of years and don't use regularly, so this is one of them. You know, it is a light color, but it's more in the brown family than in the orange family. But I got back into palm green, and now I wanted to try this one. The chromatography is fairly standard. No water resistance. And it's a series of light browns, kind of in the orange family, and then it goes up to this kind of really dark brown here at the very top. So there is an interesting series of dyes that they used. It may have some shading, but we'll see how it works in that fine nib. So I've had some time to write with the Hongdian, and the nib has potential. We'll see how it writes and what you think of it. So overall, this is a quality pen on every level from my perspective. Comes in a number of colors, and I wanted this one because it's bright and because sometimes I just have a soft spot for yellow orange pens. Uncapping is fine, and it fits good in the hand without posting, which is nice because, as I said before, it's not a pen that I would post to write with. That section's a good size. Here's that section dimensions. Here's the weights of the pen. You know, there's a lot of weight in that cap. And as with this design, it doesn't post very deeply. It does post securely, but it makes for a back-weighted pen, not severely. So this is not a pen that I could not write with posted, but it just doesn't feel as balanced in the hand posted as unposted, at least in my opinion. And we'll give you the lengths of those different configurations. So overall, I'm very happy with the pen. I like the pen. I'm impressed with the level of quality, interesting design choices that they made with black blind cap and that nice engraving on the cap finial. So let's see how the nib writes. So I do believe Hongdian is one word. And I apologize that I do write it as 2 words. So this is a fine nib, as we talked about before. It's steel. And it's a number 6. So when I first wrote with this nib, I was not happy. It was dry. It was a little bit more feedback than I like, and I do like feedback, but after a few pages it really broke in well, and now I would say it's fine. I was initially thinking of doing some smoothing and flossing the tines, but now I'm not going to do it because it's doing fine, as you can see. No pun intended. Pun intended, sorry, pun intended. So the other thing that has impressed me about this nib as I wrote with it more is that's the line with no pressure. No pressure. And if you put a little bit of pressure on it, it actually opens up okay. And as you can see, puts down a lot more ink. So that's something I didn't expect in this nib, and I do like it. The more I write with it, the more I like it. So let's rate this pen. And I'm going to give it a 9.8. It gets 2 checks for the build, the quality, the design, the look. It gets a check for the nib. So not much going wrong with this pen, except maybe that black turning knob on the converter, which really isn't as visible as I thought it would be. You know, that resin just looks good. And that's nice. It feels good in the hand. It looks good in the hand. What else do you want? So hopefully you've enjoyed this look at a new pen, and I'm happy that I had a chance to experience it and share it with you. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you're able to enjoy your pens to the fullest, and you have 1 or more pens that you love to write with and doodle with and draw with, journal with, write letters with. Lots of things you can do with your pens. Hope you are all safe, healthy, and happy. This is the end of this video. Yeah, the more I use this nib, the more I like it. And it works good with this ink.